I've often been asked since my accident how I've been able to maintain a positive attitude. So in a roundabout way tonight, I'd like to speak to you about gratitude. As a matter of fact, if you sat here and just thought about what you're grateful for the whole time and didn't really pay attention to my talk, I'd still consider that a successful talk. Success, interestingly enough, can be linked to happiness in that you're more likely to be successful if you're happy, which is great news because happiness is a byproduct of being grateful. So tonight, I hope you leave here with an attitude of gratitude, a little happier, and in turn, a little more successful as well. I had no idea how important an attitude of gratitude would be until a dangerous idea changed my life. Dangerous ideas and thoughts, as they become actions, will have consequences. Whether they're good or bad is up to you to decide. Regardless, they will change you. And that's the exciting thing about a dangerous idea, is it can be an exciting adventure and lead to some personal growth. Now, I've used the word adventure, which is a tricky one to define. It can mean a lot of things to different people. And before I got hurt, it meant one thing. And it took me a while to realize that it didn't mean that. It took finding a definition by the man John and Matt to really solidify what it meant to me. He says an adventure is not hanging on a rope off the side of a mountain, but it is using your resources, testing them to challenge yourself, seize new opportunity, and step outside your comfort zone to find your own unique potential. And I think that stepping outside your comfort zone can be at the root of a dangerous idea. So before we get into the dangerous idea that changed my life, I'd like to tell you a little bit about who I was before I got hurt. A family of 4, raised in northern BC, had an older sister, still have her now, she's still older, and 2 loving parents who instilled an active lifestyle in us. We're always outdoors, camping, playing sports, and just being active, whether it be on a lake, fishing, or swimming, water skiing, or whether it be on a team playing baseball, soccer, or volleyball. We were encouraged. The winter sports became quite narrowed as around the age of about 5, we spent every weekend in the winter at our cabin on the ski hill. 1990 and 91 was my first season's pass, and I started skiing. About 5 years later, I started snowboarding, and that took over. That was all I needed to pursue adventure. Having that board and a mountain or a street presented a canvas for me to challenge myself to do more and to be better. And what a fun way to do that, playing in snow, right? Absolutely loved it. And I wasn't kidding when I said the streets either, because I spent a few years in BC doing it. And then I ended up going to school in Brandon, Manitoba, of all places. I did 3 winters there, and of course I took my snowboard. There's no mountains though, so I found things in the street to utilize. Eventually though, the mountains were calling, and I had to come back. I ended up back in Revelstoke, BC, where I spent about 2 years, bought a house, and felt on top of the world. I had a really good, solid group of riding partners. Ended up getting into snowmobiling and doing some avalanche research. The research we did, my partner and I, got noticed by the Canadian Avalanche Association, and we were asked to present at their annual general meeting. Snowboarding, though, ended for me on the last day of that ski season 4 years ago. Riding with a group of individuals, sunny, gorgeous day, corn snow, slashing groomers, hitting rollers, riding fast. It was anything we could have asked for, and then some. Some of us were in three-piece suits. Some were wearing neon. Everyone was having a great day. And then riding up the chairlift in the afternoon, I looked over and I saw this roller gap. And we'd played on that roller all season long, but I'd never seen it as a gap. And so my dangerous idea was born. I wanted to connect the takeoff of the roller over a cat track and connect it with the landing of the second roller. Got to the top of the chairlift, and there were other conversations being had on other chairs about going down. Being the last day of the year, I wanted to hit this, round out the year with a good big gap jump. So I opted to go for it. As soon as I was in the air, I knew that I wasn't going to make it. I was looking down at where I was going to land, and it was flat. And I knocked myself out and continued to crash down the hill. When I woke up, my active, independent, able-bodied lifestyle became a memory and a pipe dream. I spent a year in the hospital, in and out of the hospital, in and out of rehab, physical rehab. I'll never forget what the doctor said to me when I came out of my first surgery, though. He looked down at me, tubes coming out of my mouth, out of my arms, on my nose, and he said, "This is all the movement you're going to have for the rest of your life." All I could do was sit there and blink. I had no idea about a spinal cord injury. Didn't know anything about the nerves coming out at different vertebrae. And I wasn't about to listen to him. And so the first few weeks went on, and I didn't gain much back. But I did have incredible support. I had people coming in and out of my hospital room that I had no idea the impact I had on them. It might have just been a little conversation or a simple smile at some point when our paths crossed that impacted them enough that they wanted to come and see how I was doing in the hospital. This is not to mention the incredible steadfast support I had from my family, who actually somehow beat me to the hospital. My sister and her husband were in school in Edmonton, Alberta, and they beat me to the hospital in Vancouver. And they were there for the first 9 weeks, day in, day out. My parents were as well. They were all there for the first year, and then some, which I almost expected. What really caught me off guard, though, was these individuals, like I mentioned, that I'd impacted that came in, which I think is an important point to raise for you guys, to be mindful of those little interactions you have with everyone, day to day. You don't know how much your smile might mean to someone, or even if it's just simply listening to someone who needs someone to talk to. It can really go a long ways, farther than you can imagine sometimes. So it's worth that little effort. The support that I received allowed me to focus on just my physical recovery. I had a goal to be as independent as I could be, whatever my ability was going to be physically. So when I was in rehab, I spent an hour a day, 5 days a week, doing physio, and that just wiped me out. It was enough to put me to bed early most nights. And I did that for a year. And that community support continued, and I was in and out, started to get comfortable in a wheelchair, getting out and around town. And at the end of the year, I was happy with the progress I'd made. I'd felt like I'd come to terms with my physical ability and where I was going to be. I needed to find an adventure, though. I needed to relearn how to adventure. I clearly wasn't going to snowboard, so what was I going to do? I got out of GF Strong on Friday. On Monday, which was the year anniversary of my accident, I got in my van with my care worker and my girlfriend, and we drove across the country. This allowed me to reconnect with family and friends who weren't able to come to Vancouver, but it also allowed me to test my new abilities, to see what things are accessible out in the real world. Rehab is such a bubble wrap facility that they keep you so protected. I had no idea what to expect. And on that trip, the Live It, Love It Foundation was born. And this foundation allows us to help other people with similar physical disabilities get back into sport, adventure, and the outdoors. We've had 5 successful camps, both summer and winter, where we've helped individuals tick an item off their bucket list or add an activity to their everyday life, be it hand cycling, bungee jumping, rowing, sit skiing, and the list goes on. So I feel very fortunate that that was then born and is continuing today. When I came back from that trip, though, I felt confident with being able to problem solve adventures, which is what adventures have just turned into, is just big problem solving missions. And I felt the need to focus on my independence again. So I heard of this sport called wheelchair rugby. And I'd heard that those guys were pretty independent. Be it that strength directly translates into independence for an individual in my situation, I then realized I needed to get stronger. And what better way than to play a sport? So I moved to Victoria and committed to wheelchair rugby. And I not only got an incredibly, a huge amount of strength with playing that sport, I found a new sense of belonging and helped create a new identity for myself as well. So, I guess in departing, I would like to say that roundabout story, the 3 things I'm grateful for, are the community of support and the community that's offered me a sense of belonging. I'm incredibly grateful for adventure and being able to do that in a new way and share that with others. And I'm also incredibly grateful for the independence in which I've reclaimed. I can move far more than my eyes. I just got my driver's license about a year ago, so I can drive myself anywhere I need to go, get groceries, all sorts of things that I couldn't do in that first year. But what I really want to leave you with is encouraging you to pursue those dangerous ideas you have to test your resources, to challenge yourself, to seize opportunities, and to find your own unique potential. And in the aftermath, when it's all said and done, I want you to be grateful. Thank you.